Hi, Steve Draper here in my workshop in Bellevue. This is the lesson number 7 on the drill press, first assignment which we're going to set up. And this is for the Shopsmith Mark 4 7520 self-study course. And of course, as you saw in your written instructions, you want to have your table set up like I have here, just with only the main table set up here. And you want to have your stop collar here, but we want to position this, we want to release it so that it just falls down to the bottom when we put the stop collar on there. So let me do that now so you can see that. Okay, so that's going to drop down there. We will use that to position the table after we get it up in the vertical position. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have everything that was in the written instructions for the materials. And besides this, you're going to have to make sure you have your drill chuck with a 1/2 inch, either a twist or brad point bit in it. Optional is the adjustable stop collar with the scale on it, which Shopsmith sells. If you have that, then you're going to also position that at the bottom here. I'm just going to position that here right at the bottom of the table support tube right there. Then also you're going to want to have 2 of these, the connector tube with the adjustable telescoping leg and the adjustable support. You want to have 2 of these, or if you don't have 2 of those, you can use 1 of the table support leg, which was designed for the Mark 5 500, and we'll show you how that's used if that's the option that you have on yours. So the first thing you want to do in positioning, we want to get everything positioned exactly where we want it before we put it up into vertical position, because you don't want to be having to adjust the table height, or especially not the motor height, when you have this up vertically. In fact, I'll tell you right now, with the Power Pro, you should never adjust the motor height when you have this in vertical position. It weighs 78 pounds. It's just too much weight for one person to adjust on that. So we want to make sure we have this position correctly to begin with. Now, even with the traditional headstock, which is about 20 pounds less, that's still not a fun project, having to adjust that motor height once you get it up. So on the 520 or your Mark 7, that's what I'm going to show you first. At the very end here, I'll show you the Mark 4, how to set that up, because that's just a little bit different. Okay, so first thing on your motor, we want to position the motor so that we have here between the motor on your weigh tubes, we want to have that between 6 and 12 inches between here and here. Now, I'll just tell you, if you have it at 6, it's going to be a lot harder to raise up if you don't have that the lift assist on your machine. If you have it at the 12, it's doable if you don't have the lift assist. Now, I don't have the lift assist on mine, and so I'm going to position mine at 12 inches. Next thing we want to do is on our table, we want to get the table height set first. And what we'll do is we will slide the carriage over, and we will drop this table until it touches the motor, and then raise it just slightly. That's where we want to have the table height set initially. Now we're going to slide back this carriage, and now we want to have between the edge of the table and the knurled knob here on your arbor, you want to have that about 3.5 inches or so. Doesn't have to be exact, but approximately. And now we're going to lock down our carriage. Now we're going to tilt the table. And we're going to tilt this all the way down and lock it into position. And now we're going to put on our drill chuck with the drill bit and lock that in position. Make sure that's lined up with the flat there. Get that tight. Now, this is where some adjustments may be required. If your drill bits are the original 6-inch length, which Shopsmith has been doing for decades, it's going to be fine right where it is. The newer ones are only about 5 inches, which is an inch shorter. So you're going to have to, in that case, move your table a little bit closer. So when you're finished here, whatever length yours happen to be, you want to have between the table and your drill bit about 2.5 inches, between 2.5 and 3 inches in there. Reason we do it there is because the quill can advance up to 4.25 inches. So then that gives you the capacity to go all the way down through if you need to. So now we've got this set up horizontally. Now before we raise this up into vertical position, we're going to go through our 7-step safety check before we do that. So make sure the motor lock is on. We've got our quill lock on. We've got our table tilt lock. We've got our carriage lock. And we've got our table height lock. And the machine is firmly on the floor. The wheels are up, so it can't move. And we've got nothing here on the auxiliary spindles. Also, double check and make sure that at this end that the lock is tightened where this pivots. Make sure that the lock here is unscrewed so it's not going to interfere. You don't want it to be protruding too far because then you can't raise it all the way up into vertical if you do that. And then we're going to come down to this end and we're going to loosen here on the power mount. Unscrew that. In fact, I'm going to ask to come in here close so you can see this. Actually move the camera if you need to, so you can see what I'm doing down here. So right down in here, make sure that we unscrew that, because that's what keeps it down from, otherwise you won't be able to lift it. Okay, so now we're ready to raise this up into vertical position. Now, what I recommend is you want to have as much leverage as you have on this if you don't have the lift assist. And the way you're going to get the most leverage is to stand out here when you go to lift it. So we're lifting as far close to the end here as we possibly can. So I'm going to lift all in one motion and push this up. Now once I'm in vertical position, I guess we come around the camera, bring around front now, get a view from up here. Now we're going to do our lock down here, screw this in, and wiggle this a little bit as you do it. And there we are. So that's tight and that's in position. All right. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that this drill bit is exactly centered, exactly in the center here. And the reason I've chosen a 1/2 inch is because of the space here on the table insert is just slightly wider than a 1/2 inch. So we're going to take our table height and we're going to adjust that at the same time as we're lowering this bit so that we can get it going right through there. So now it's going all the way through. I lock the table, I lock the quill. Now we're going to get it exactly centered as much as we can right there and lock that into position. If you've got that centered properly, you should be able to raise and lower this, and the bit will not touch either side of the table insert when you do that. So I'm going to lock it down, the quill, and now this is where that stop collar comes into play. So the stop collar here, that's where we wanted it loose. We want to position it all the way against the carriage, and now we're going to lock it. Tighten it in position there. Now, any repositioning we do on the table in the future, we can always bring that table back so the bit is exactly centered over that again. So if I happen to move my table, when I'm done, I can bring it right back and I'm exactly centered again. And I don't have to guess in the future where that should be. So that's just a nice little tip that I have here for you, which can be really helpful. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our fence on here. I'm going to put the fence right here. And now we're going to adjust our adjustable scale here, magnetic one. What we're going to do is we're going to set it so that the 0 on here exactly will line up with the center of this drill bit. And how do I do that? We're going to bring the bit back down through the table, right there. Going to bring the fence over until it just kisses the edge of that drill bit. Lock it in position. And now I want to set the scale here. Now on mine, if you look closely here, that plastic marker there, I've removed on mine. But if you have the plastic marker, you'll use that. And if you just wait a minute, I'll be right back and show you what I'm talking about. Well, I thought I had that handy, but I don't. But in any case, this may happen on yours also, because mine actually came off. Those indicators, which stick out each side here and are black and are plastic, they use double stick tape. And over time, they can come off. So in any case, you'll use yours if you have your indicator on yours. So from the center of the bit to this edge of this fence is going to be half the diameter of my bit. My bit's a 1/2 inch, so I need a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to set my magnetic scale here on 1/4 inch to the left of the 0. And that's where I've got mine lined up. So now mine is zeroed out. Okay. So now that's completed. And my camera person here is just getting me a Band-Aid because I've scraped up my arm here doing this. My age, which is 73, the slightest little bump or scrape will do that. So this is another hint. I have a first aid kit right on the wall of my workshop for just such things, which is something I recommend to everybody, having a first aid kit in their workshop. All right, so last thing we're going to do is our support legs. So you can do one of two ways. I'm going to do the easier one first, and that's if you have the Mark V 500 table support leg. That just goes right in the center here. It goes down just like that. And this is an available accessory. You can order that from Shopsmith. The other option is you can use the ones that came with your machine. And that's going to be these here, which these are your connector tubes here, one for each side. And then the adjustable telescoping leg attaches to the end of those, which I did ahead of time on mine. Okay, that one, and now you twist, put it down, and then twist the other way. Same thing on this one, twist, put it down, twist the other way. Okay, so now you're all set up for doing drill press operations. So that's it for this one. See you the next time.